Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Northwestern surprised everybody last year by going 7-2, rising as high as 8th nationally, winning the Big Ten West, and then annihilating Auburn 35-19 in the Citrus Bowl. Pat Fitzgerald did an amazing job in Evanston, but don't expect a repeat in 2021. So again, guys, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, here to predict Northwestern's schedule and record for this upcoming college football season. As always, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and also make sure to check out everything down in the description below, including our brand new expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country for one of the lowest prices in the entire country. So as always, make sure to go give that a look and sign up today. So let's take a look at Northwestern, guys, the reigning Big Ten West champions. A team that went 3-9 in 2019, jumped to 7-2 in division champs in 2020. If that doesn't show you how good Pat Fitzgerald is, one of the best coaches in the country, I don't know what will. Northwestern, guys, is a team that is perennially under Fitzgerald a bowl team, a 6, 7, occasionally 8-win team. But they have won 2 division titles in the last 3 years. Pretty dang impressive, especially when they're going up against the likes of Wisconsin and Iowa and Nebraska and Minnesota year in and year out. But like we mentioned, don't expect a repeat in 2021, especially when Northwestern loses so many key contributors to the team that they had last year. So many key players that helped them win the West last year. And let's start on offense when we talk about the key losses. Northwestern only returns 3 starters on that side of the ball. Ryan Hilinski is their brand new quarterback, the transfer from South Carolina. The team will go as Hilinski goes. Peyton Ramsey came in last year as a transfer quarterback and brought stability to the position because we know they didn't have any in 2019. Hilinski is hoping to continue to do the same, but he has an uphill battle. Northwestern loses their top 4 pass catchers from 2020. He's going to have to build some quick chemistry. New quarterback, new pass catchers. Doesn't seem for a recipe for success, at least early on. But what they will succeed at is the running game. Cam Porter returns at running back, had 333 yards and 5 touchdowns last year. The offensive line will be relatively strong, usually is for Northwestern. The offense as a whole, though, has to continue to improve after averaging just 24.7 points per game and only 197.9 passing yards per game. Both of those in the 90s nationally, which again, out of 130, not too good. Defense, though, for Pat Fitzgerald is always a strength, and that's going to be the strength of the team this year. Despite returning just 4 starters, despite losing their defensive coordinator in Mike Hankwitz and now replacing him with Jim O'Neill, Northwestern still looks poised to be one of the better defenses in the Big Ten. Last year they were first, allowing just 15.9 points per game. They were also first, allowing just 195.3 passing yards per game. I don't expect those numbers to remain the same. I don't expect them to be the best defense in the Big Ten, especially when you lose key starters like Blake Gallagher and Paddy Fisher. But I do believe with Jim O'Neill, and I do believe with the mind of Pat Fitzgerald and the talent of a guy like Brandon Joseph, who had 6 interceptions last year and will lead this Northwestern secondary, the Wildcats can still remain a top 5 defense in the Big Ten and a top 30 unit nationally, despite the lack of experience. We take a look at their schedule, guys. Northwestern, I will tell you now, I think can make a bowl game. They have the talent, despite so many key new pieces, to make a bowl game. It's just a matter of will they be in the thick of the Big Ten West title hunt by, say, late October, early November. That's the million-dollar question. Well, they start off their season on a Friday night at home with Big Ten play. They have a Big Ten conference game to kick off the year. And obviously that's good for some and bad for others. Well, they're playing Michigan State, so obviously it could be worse. They could be playing a bit of a more difficult opponent. But it should be noted that last year, Northwestern's lone regular season loss was to Michigan State. They fell to the Spartans 29-20, and that was when Northwestern was the 8th ranked team in the country. Well, I will tell you that Northwestern will not lose to Michigan State again. They will start the year at 1-0. It's a Friday night, at home, season opener They will be packed at Ryan Field, guys. It's in Evanston. Again, everybody's going to be so excited to have college football back at full capacity. We've always said home field advantage will play a bigger role this year than we've ever seen. We expect that to be the case. And you look at Michigan State, their offense, you could argue, could be better than Northwestern's. They landed a transfer quarterback themselves in Anthony Russo, and he has his pass catchers back. But Northwestern, to me, absolutely owns the defensive edge. You own the defensive edge, you own the home field advantage, and I do have a little faith in Hilinski. I think they beat Michigan State in what could be a relatively close game on Friday night. We do believe Northwestern defeats Indiana State. They then travel to Duke. And I'm going to say this is an easy victory for Northwestern. Duke's, right now, when we went through the ACC, we said they were one of the worst teams in the conference. Only 10 starters back, questions at quarterback. They're going to have to start Gunnar Holmberg. Well, we thought Chase Bryce would do great with David Cutcliffe. He didn't. Will Gunnar Holmberg be any different with Cutcliffe? Maybe Cutcliffe is losing his touch. And Duke had one of the worst defenses in the country last year. So if Northwestern has any offensive struggles, they're going to figure them out at Duke. Even though it's on the road, I really expect them to annihilate the Blue Devils. They are 3-0. And we'll bump them up to 4-0 with a win at home against Ohio. Again, a team that returns a lot of 5th and 6th year players because, of course, due to COVID, those super seniors. A team that is absolutely a MAC contender this year. But at home, with that defense, I just don't see Northwestern struggling much against the Bobcats. So having said all of that, we have Northwestern at 4-0. Potentially a top 25 team going into the bulk of Big Ten Conference play. So 4-0, everybody's starting to get excited again. Everybody's starting to say, well, hold on a minute. Maybe they're still Big Ten West contenders. Maybe this is a dark horse team. Again, though, when you look at this schedule, you'll begin to see why that's not the case. Their first or second Big Ten game, the first in the big stretch here, is at Nebraska. Last year, Northwestern beat Nebraska 21-13 in Evanston. Beat them at home by 8. And I'm looking at this from a logical standpoint, guys. Obviously, Northwestern's team was good last year. Absolutely better than Nebraska, and they got the win. If Nebraska had been just a little bit better offensively, I truly believe they would have won that game. Just stupid mistakes from both teams, but Nebraska especially ended up costing the Cornhuskers that game. When you look at Nebraska this year, they returned 9 starters on defense. That's going to be their strength. That's going to be the strength of this Nebraska team. And you really think it should be their offense when Scott Frost is their head coach, but that's not going to be the case. I expect this to be another low-scoring game. Last year, 21-13, could very well see it being similar this year. But I believe the results are going to be flipped. I think Nebraska beats Northwestern. I think their defense has just enough at home to shut down a Northwestern offense that has lacked big playability under Pat Fitzgerald for years now. And I believe that Nebraska, with their running game, exploits Northwestern just enough and ends up getting a crucial win at home in a big, big year for Scott Frost. Northwestern drops their first game of the season right before their bye week. They get that bye week, and they return home to play Rutgers. And that's a good time for a bye, guys, because in the past you go, man, I wish we weren't getting our bye before Rutgers. That's an easy cakewalk victory. That is not the case for anybody now. That is not the case now that Greg Schiano is in Piscataway. You look at this Rutgers team, a guy that returns 19 starters, a team that returns 19 starters. Should be a little bit better offensively with their big three and Noah Vedral, Isaiah Pacheco, and Bo Melton, and a defense that should improve with 8 starters. I'll tell you now that I believe if this game was in New Jersey, if this game was in Piscataway, I'd probably be picking Rutgers. But Northwestern's defense, I think, is that good, first off. I think Rutgers' offense is getting better, but I don't think they have the offensive capability and that big playability, same that Northwestern lacks, to exploit this Wildcats defense, especially their secondary. It is at home, off a week of rest. I like Northwestern over Rutgers, a team that's drastically improving under Schiano, especially when it comes to just being competitive, but not quite there yet to come on the road and snag a win like this. Northwestern 5-1 and 1 win away from bowl eligibility and still in the thick of the Big Ten title race. Here's where it gets tricky. Look at the next 4 games. At Michigan, Minnesota, Iowa, at Wisconsin. They play arguably the top 2 teams in the Big Ten West in back-to-back weeks in Iowa and Wisconsin. They have to travel to the Big House at Michigan. Obviously a very difficult place to play. A Michigan team that should improve this year. And then Minnesota, a team who consistently is a solid team under PJ Fleck. Won 11 games last year, took a step back, or 11 games in 2019, took a step back last year, but should, again, take another step forward now in 2021. So a very difficult 4-game stretch for Northwestern that will really make or break their season in terms of can they get to the Big Ten championship? Can they remain a top 25 team and be a legitimate contender? We start with the road game at Michigan. And when you look at the Wolverines, you say, it's Jim Harbaugh, they're not going to do anything, they're overrated, and that could be so. That could be so. But Michigan does return 9 starters on defense. Their defense, I think, will be one of the better defenses in the Big Ten. Their offense returns 3, and I believe that by October 23rd, this late in the year, Michigan will have figured out their quarterback issues. We don't know who it's going to be. Cade McNamara seems to be the favorite, our favorite right now, but J.J. McCarthy could get some time, and Alan Bowman from Texas Tech, the most experienced quarterback on their roster, could very well get some time too. I believe they worked out some key offensive struggles here by October 23rd. It's at home. I think they have enough to exploit Northwestern's defense, and I think Michigan's defense has plenty of talent to shut down the Wildcats' offense, if there even is one. Michigan wins at home. Northwestern returns home, takes on Minnesota, and I think the Golden Gophers hand them another L. When you look at Minnesota, they have a very, very balanced offense. They've got plenty of talent across the board. Tanner Morgan is back. Mohamed Ibrahim is back. Chris Ottman-Bell is back. The offense should be clicking again with PJ Fleck. 9 starters back on that side of the ball. 6 are back on defense. And again, this was a team that disappointed big time last year. They won 11 games. Expectations were high. And everybody took a step back. I blame some of that on COVID. I really do. For a lot of teams, not just Minnesota. The Golden Gophers, once again, will be a force to be reckoned with in the Big Ten West. Maybe not like they were in 2019, but the coaching and talent is there to win 7 to 8 games, maybe even 9 in 2021. I think Minnesota has enough, the offensive capability certainly, to come on the road and win this game. I believe Northwestern also drops the game against Iowa. They beat the Hawkeyes 23-20 last year at Kinnick. Let's keep that in mind. They won at Kinnick Stadium. But again, a lot's changed in the span of a year. Didn't have fans at Kinnick, at least not a lot. Northwestern loses a lot. Iowa, yes, they lose their top 2 receivers in Amir Smith-Marset and Brandon Smith, but outside of that, might be better than they were last year. This is an Iowa team that won 6 straight games to end 2020. Iowa wants revenge as well, trying to avenge their home loss to Northwestern. Their defense simply is just too good. They have enough to come on the road and beat Northwestern. Again, as we mentioned, the team goes as Ryan Hilinski goes. Northwestern has lacked, for better words, that offensive, dynamic, big play ability for years now under Pat Fitzgerald. It wasn't just last year. For years, they've lacked that. And I don't expect that to change now in 2021. They might have consistency at quarterback finally, but they're not going to have the big play ability to hit home run balls and exploit big elite defenses like Iowa. And the same goes for elite defenses at Wisconsin, where we believe Northwestern drops their 4th straight game. The Badgers are the best team in the Big Ten West. No doubt in my mind. Graham Mertz is back. His top pass catches are back. We know they want to bully you up front in the trenches. That's what Paul Chryst does. And 8 starters are back on defense from one of the best in the country. Wisconsin won their final 2 games, and now they're going to be back, fully healthy, rid of any COVID issues. Mertz should be a lot better in his 2nd year as starter. It's in Madison. I don't see any way Northwestern wins this game. So in that 4-game stretch that we mentioned, they drop all 4. But it's an absolute brutal stretch. Michigan at Big House is not easy. Iowa, Wisconsin, not easy. I think the most winnable game in that 4-game stretch is the home game against Minnesota, and I just don't see the Wildcats having enough to win that one. So after starting 5-1, they're now 5-5 with their final 2 games. They've got to win at least one of them to go bowling, and we think they can do that. We actually think they clinch bowl eligibility at home against Purdue. They beat Purdue 27-20 last year. If you remember last year, that kind of was like the Big Ten West championship game early on in the year. Both teams were undefeated, brief 2-0, but the winner of that was going to control their own destiny in the West. And Northwestern got the best of the Boilermakers, and they ended up controlling their destiny, ended up winning the West. When you look at Purdue, I believe they have the offensive capability to exploit Northwestern. They have Jack Plummer, they have Aiden O'Connell, they have David Bell. They have the offensive capability to put up points against the Wildcats. It's their defense that worries me the most. It's their defense that concerns me the most. And again, one would argue, well, if their defense concerns you, that's fine, but Northwestern doesn't have the offense to exploit anything. I think they do. I think Cam Porter can come into this game and run all over Purdue. I think they can run against the Boilermakers. Pat Fitzgerald is good in crunch time. He's good in high-pressure situations. He realizes, hey, I'd rather clinch bowl eligibility at home than have to force our hand on the road against Illinois. They do just that. They defeat Purdue. They've got bowl eligibility again. They're 6-5, and then travel to Illinois, a team they beat by 18 last year, 28-10, a team they've won 6 straight against, with only one coming by 1 possession. Those numbers speak for themselves. Make it 7 straight. Make it again one of the last 7 that's only been decided by 1 possession. I think the Wildcats destroy the Fighting Illini on the road. Yes, they have a brand new head coach in Brett Bielema. Yes, they returned 15 starters. When has that helped them in the past? That was supposed to help them last year. They had just come off a bowl appearance in 2019, had tons of returning starters, tons of returning talent, and Illinois won 2 games. It's going to take some time in Champaign for Bielema, and they're not going to have enough to beat one of the better coaches in the conference and one of the better defenses in the conference, despite having home field advantage. So Northwestern goes through a bit of a rough stretch in the middle of the year, but wins their final 2 games, carries some momentum into the postseason. We have Pat Fitzgerald and the Wildcats finishing at 7-5 in 2021. So yes, a step back from last year. That's to be expected. They're not going to repeat as West champions, but they're going to have a shot at an 8-win season after going to a very solid bowl game. And for the fans in Evanston, that's all you can ask for. And personally, for me, I would be thrilled with that. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. Also, make sure to check out everything down in the description below. That includes our brand new expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Do not miss out on that offer, one of the best in the country. Go sign up today. And as always, thank you so much for watching, guys. And we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.